It's important to me to tell the truth, as far as I can, and also to say things as simply as I can. But I guess the most important thing of all is to be read. I don't think I've got a main theme, to be honest.
Just like people.
I write about all sorts of things. Everything is interesting. Reading, really, Alex. Reading has always given me an awful lot of pleasure, and I find language fascinating, and I was a teacher for quite a while, for quite a few years, teaching English at secondary school, and always reading, and interested in how language works, and so that's it, really. I would say probably a book called Where Underpants Come From.
Where do underpants come from?
Well, these underpants came from China, same as yours probably come from. And so I bought some, if you look on the label at the back, and I bought a pair of underpants at the warehouse in Linwood, and they were so cheap, they were ridiculously cheap, and I thought, and they were made in China, and I thought, I'm going to find out where these underpants were made, exactly, and what they were made of, and all the constituent parts. And so I followed them backwards, all the way backwards to where they were made in China, where the cotton grew in China.
How does cotton grow? Is there such thing as cotton trees?
There's a cotton bush which grows to about that high, and I didn't know very much about this at all. And when it sprouts, and when the seed pod bursts, all around the seed there's a mass of tiny white fibres, and that's raw cotton. And then you spin them together in vast quantities. Picking cotton is very, very hard work. Now they do it largely by machine, but cotton grows in the hot regions of the world, and way over in the west of China, near the border with Afghanistan, is where the cotton grew that went into my underpants. And I also followed the rubber that went into the waistband, and that came from Thailand and went there. There you go, you've been around. I like the hills more than anything else, and now it's become habit. This is where I live. And
you can ask this.
yeah, I do from time to time, because I write 2 newspaper columns a week, and quite often I tell stories from things that happened here. Yeah. I take dogs for long runs over the hills. I play a little bit of sport, play a bit of cricket still, even though I'm getting very old now, play a bit of squash. And I quite like cooking now. I never used to, but I actually quite like cooking. It's bizarre. I started making curries and things. Signed a contract to write 2 new books. One is this novel that I'm just starting now, and then after that I'm going to write a memoir based on fishing.
What?
A memoir, in other words, a little bit of sort of
translation, please.
similar to an autobiography. Similar. In other words, stories from your own life. The languages. Oh, once I wrote a newspaper article in Spanish once in Spain 30 years ago when I was living there, about a very small newspaper article about a rugby game that we'd played in, and that was my first published piece of Spanish, only published piece of Spanish. But no, I speak French and I speak Spanish both reasonably well, but I've never, not well enough to write professionally. You can only really write in your own language, unless you're completely bilingual. And to be completely bilingual, you need to be brought up that way. Well, I've been writing for, professionally, 17 years. Started publishing pieces of writing in '97, that's when I gave up teaching and started making a living as a writer.